So this is what we're making, a simple little yin and yang ring. Using 1.2 millimeter round wire annealed. Cute. So what I usually do when I have one of these ideas is I take some of my dead soft copper wire and I give it a try, and I thought to make a yin and yang ring I would just use my double round pliers, and I'll zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just holding the wire, and then I'm pulling the copper wire tight around the end of my pliers, tight the other way, and I'm pulling it right around to the other bit of wire. So I don't want to overlap, but I want it to come right to that point. So you can see I've got my shape, and now we'll just measure the length of our ring shank and cut it. You could make the ring complete and big enough to compensate for this when you bend it, but I think the easy way is to do the wire while it's straight, and that way it can be more accurate when you cut it to length. So this was the double round pliers. Initially I thought I would do a zigzag, and your zigzag would depend on the width of your pliers once again. So a nice crisp bend. And this was just with the chain nose pliers. And we could get it a little more crisp just by pushing right on the bend. Yeah. Now, if you wanted a really wide zigzag, you'd probably use something like your parallel jaw pliers, so this bit is a lot wider. So I'm going to make my yin and yang ring using 1.2 millimeter round silver wire. Now your wire needs to be annealed for this, and when I try to bend the wire, it does bend, but it's springy, and we want it to be dead soft. So what I'm going to do is cut a piece longer than I know I need for the ring. In this case, about 75 millimeters long. I better make it 100, I think, because the ring will be around 70, possibly. So 100 millimeters long. You don't have to file the ends flat, but we do want to anneal it. So we're just going to warm this up until it's a dull red. Start at one end, work your way down to the other end. Then wait until it's not red anymore. Quench it in water, and I'm going to form it now before I pickle it, because it's not really necessary to pickle at this point. So we'll just use our double round pliers, grab it in the middle, and form it. So just grab it like this, pull the end nice and tight as you can around the end, Pull the other one the other way. Nice and tight. And you can see I've gone slightly past because I do want the yin and yang shape, and oftentimes that's in the middle of a circle. So now I have this shape. I can cut the wire to length and get the inside diameter of your ring. Add the thickness of your wire, which is 1.2 millimeters in this case, multiplied by 3.14. That will give you the exact length. So mine comes out to 62 millimeters. And what I'm going to do is cut this so that my yin and yang is right in the middle. I'm just using a texture. Now on this we need to saw the end because we need it nice and flat. What you could do is you could use your side cutters, but then you have to file it back flat. It's just easier to saw because it's a smaller amount of filing. And then we're going to file the end flat using our Swiss No. 2 cut flat hand file. Be fairly gentle when you're filing the end of wire that you've annealed, because it'll be so soft that if you push really hard against it, it'll just bend it over. So what we're going to do now is check our length, and we're going to take our flat half round pliers. Half round goes on the inside. And I'm holding the yin and yang flat as I'm forming the metal. And we just want the ends to come together as perfectly as we can get them. And I usually push and pull and twist and get it as close as I can, because if it's not close and you solder it and you try to clean up this bit that's slightly misshapen, it'll change the profile of the wire and it'll always be visible. So get it as close as humanly possible and we'll solder. So just a small piece of hard solder. That's about 1.5 millimeters long. Mix up your flux. Make sure it's nice and creamy. A little spot of flux on your join. And I'm going to pick solder this. So heat your solder pick. Touch the solder, it'll turn into a nice little ball. Heat the join. Place the solder in and it flows, and it happens just that quickly. Now, don't hold the flame straight on the metal, otherwise you'll melt it. So brush it back and forth so it distributes the heat. And quench in water. And pickle. I'll come out of the pickle, rinse it in water, dry it, have a look at your joint. Now, I used slightly too much solder, so that I'm going to have to tidy it up a little bit. But I'm going to round it up on the ring mandrel first. And because of the nature of this ring, if you really force it, what happens is you'll undo your cymbal and make the ring bigger than you want. So what you want to do is, as gently as possible, round it up. Now, if it's slightly bigger than what you wanted, what you can do is, at this point, leave it on your ring mandrel, take your double round pliers, put them back in, shift the ring up to the proper size, and make your cymbal like that. And it ends up being at the proper size because as you're turning this, you're making it smaller. So now, if the bottom part is slightly wonky, what you can do is take your steel block and just hammer it gently. Now I've got this sitting on my bench pin. Don't hammer on the pin or it'll wedge that down tight. So put it on your bench and just gently hammer that. And now that it's round, if you need to do a little tidying up, you can use your sanding stick. I'm using 400 grade paper on the stick. And we just want to work this the smallest amount possible, because we don't want to change the profile of the wire. So now we're ready to polish. And I will just use a small cotton buff on my handpiece with Tripoli. And Tripoli's brown. So I just whiz up the wheel against the little piece of Tripoli I've got sitting on my bench. And you can hold it in your fingers if you want. Quite easy. So you can see it polishes up quite easily. So polish the whole ring. So once you have it polished, scrub it up, soap and water to get the wax from the polishing compound off. Dry it. And you have a nice little ring, yin and yang.